Yo, 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 what up, what up, what up, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of the Damn YouTube Sports Talk Show. This your boy Ralph Sneaks, checking in live in full effect. Um, we on episode 30, I think. Bring you another episode, um, Uncensored Sports Talk. If you ain't done so, make sure you head over to YouTube, subscribe to the content. When you subscribe, make sure you hit the notification bell so you can get notified when new content released. Head over to Instagram. You can follow the sports page at damn_YouTube_sports talk. Or if you want to follow me personally, it's Ralph_Sneaks on IG. Damn YouTube Sports Talk on X. It's scrolling down at the bottom of your screen. Just head over there, subscribe. If you head to the IG page, the sports page, you can hit the link in the bio and subscribe that way too. But yeah, man, I'm back. Another weekend of NFL action. You know what I'm saying? Week 9 in the books. Well, not technically in the books yet, but we still got a Monday night game to go. But it was a hell of a week 9, man. We starting to see who is who and who ain't who we thought they was, and we starting to see teams that were actually better than we thought they were, that ain't showing no signs of slowing down. That could really be, surprise teams or a surprise team of this season. We had some disappointments. We had some surprises. And we had some teams that pretty much are doing what we thought. We had, a couple teams that exceeding expectations for the season. But that's what we're gonna get into, man. We're gonna get into recapping Week 9 NFL action. Like I said, it was a hell of a week in the NFL, as it is each and every week. So we're gonna get to it. Well, first and foremost. This ain't my squad, but I gotta bring them up. Because you're gonna hear about it, regardless of whether I talk about them or not. You're gonna hear about it from all the other mainstream outlets, all the other everybody else is gonna be talking about it on these sports shows. The Dallas Cowboys. They go down to Atlanta. And lose 27-21. Dak Prescott seems to be caught on camera saying we suck or we fucking suck. Something of that nature. But if you're the Dallas Cowboys, you sitting third in the division behind the division leading Washington Commanders and second in behind the Philadelphia Eagles. Washington 7-2, and that's another team we're gonna get into a little bit later. The Eagles 6-2, Dallas 3-5, and the New York Giants 2-7. So if you're the Dallas Cowboys, you sitting third in your division, and you got to be worried. So ain't no need of no Dallas Cowboy fans sitting up here saying they ain't worried, they ain't, it's gonna be all right, this, that, and third. That is your ego. That ain't the truth talking. That's just your ego talking. That's embarrassment talking, trying to cover up reality. Because reality is you're in trouble. You still got the Eagles twice. You still got the Washington Commanders twice. And like I said, both of those teams are ahead of you in the division. Then I think you got Houston coming up. I think you got Cincinnati somewhere in there. And I'm not even, mention the New York Giants because I think that I'm not worried. I'm not mentioning the Giants, even though that's the division team. I'm not mentioning the New York Giants because that's the Giants ain't going nowhere either. Damn it, they ain't going nowhere either. But you got Philly twice, you got Washington twice, you got Houston coming up, and like I said, Cincinnati somewhere in the mix. But if you're the Dallas Cowboys, man, why the hell you should be selling at the deadline? There's not a player that you can go and get that's going to come in here and save you. There's not a player that's going to come in here at the deadline that you can realistically go and get that's going to save you from this 3-5 first half of the season. We around the halfway point. You're sitting at 3-5. And like I said, you got Houston coming up. So there's nothing you can do at the deadline as far as being a buyer that can bring somebody in here that's going to salvage your season. It's not happening. So I don't know. I don't even know why Cowboy fans just won't come to the realization and admit that. I mean, you really just got to be worried if you're the Dallas Cowboys. You don't have a run game. The only target you really got in the pass game is CeeDee Lamb. And I mean, if you want to throw Jake Ferguson tight end in there, I mean, you can throw him in there. But that's not really saying a whole lot. You can't stop nobody on the defensive side of the ball. Michael Parsons injured. DaRon Bland injured. You don't know what's going on with Dak Prescott. You know, I mean, it's just, I mean, it's pretty much, and I know Jerry's not going to want to do this, but like I keep telling y'all, Jerry is selling that Cowboy brand. He's marketing the hell out of that Cowboy brand. He's saying enough of what he has to say each and every year at the beginning of the season and continuing it throughout the season, saying what he has to say, enough of what he has to say to continue to market that Dallas Cowboy brand, that $1 billion Cowboy brand, that $1 billion star. As long as he's saying what he's saying and is getting to the fan base and is keeping asses in them seats. And in order to get in the seat, you got to buy a damn ticket. They ain't just letting you walk in there for free. You got to buy a damn ticket from somewhere. So if asses is in the seats, that means money is being made from the ticket because you ain't walking in free. You ain't getting in there free. So you're buying a ticket from somewhere off some site. You're getting it from somewhere to get your ass in there. The merch that's being sold. He doing what he got to do as a businessman. But when you look at but when it comes down to the Dallas Cowboys, and he keep y'all believing this shit, like what the hell can Jerry do to save this team that's sitting at 3-5 right now? There's not a player that you can go and get that's going to save this season. There's not one. You didn't do nothing in the offseason. You didn't address your needs. Everybody thought when they went and got Dalvin Cook that was gonna be the run game. Everybody thought Dalvin Cook was just gonna come back to Dallas and run behind the offensive line and start looking like he did when he was in Minnesota. That ain't the case. You brought Zeke back. He ain't did a damn thing for you. You had a situation in the offseason where you had CeeDee Lamb holding out. He ultimately got his money. You still got to pay Michael Parsons, and Michael Parsons been hurt. You gave Dak Prescott 60 M's. So if you the Dallas Cowboys, really, to be honest with you, you looking at a team and you're looking at a team that don't really have a direction right now. You just banking on paying these players a lot of money, hoping that these players get it together and get the team to where you need it to be, that you talked them up that they should be to the damn fan base. Because don't get me wrong, Jerry is a damn good businessman. He marketed the hell out of that star. He marketed the hell out of that Dallas Cowboy brand. Don't get me wrong, he doing that. Not only is he selling Dallas Cowboy, the damn stadium stay booked for something. They got a concert there. They got another sporting event there. They keep the shit booked now. Don't get me wrong, it's booked. It stay booked. Booked like a motherfucker. It stay booked now. But when it comes to the Dallas Cowboys, the moves just don't make sense. And a large part of that got to be because you got a lot of yes men there. Now you got questions about your head coach, Mike McCarthy. See, at some point, you got to take a step or two back just to move forward. You just can't keep going forward in the wrong direction. Once you recognize you're going in the wrong direction, you're going to have to take some steps back, turn around, and go back to where you was going wrong and fix what it is that took you in the wrong direction. You have to make adjustments there and go in the right direction. So that means if you're going in the wrong direction, you're going to take a couple steps back to get right. But that don't seem to be the case in Dallas. They seem to keep going. At some point, you're going to have to tear this shit down because you're not going to be buying nothing at the trade deadline. You're not going to be buyers at the deadline. You need to be sellers. You're not in contention. What the hell is you buying for? I mean, I really don't get it. And I can't get a Dallas Cowboy fan to make it make sense. Dak Prescott left with an injury. He got I think he had a hamstring injury he left with. So what you do now? This is what I said that the Dallas Cowboys should have done in the offseason. I think the Dallas Cowboys, in my opinion, should have looked to try to trade Dak Prescott. Because at some point you're gonna have to sell this thing. You're gonna have to sell, you're gonna have to rebuild this thing. Now I know that ain't a word that they probably want to hear and use in Dallas, but you're gonna have to do it. Now you're looking at a situation, are you really gonna pay Micah Parsons? You don't have a run game. Your offensive line ain't looked as good as it's been looking in previous years. You got holes on your defense. You don't have a number 2 wide receiver. Now you got an injured quarterback that you're paying $60 million a year to. On top of that, you got to look at a team like Washington, a team in your own damn division, who in Jaden Daniels' first year, they sitting at 7-2. With a head coach that you had on your staff in Dallas, and Dan Quinn. So now Washington is looking like the team that's trending up, and they only gonna get better. Now, the Washington Commanders to start this season off defensively, they were bad. They were just outscoring the hell out of everybody. But now, as the season has gone, what has happened in Washington, ain't nobody paying attention because it's the Washington Commanders. But what has happened is the offense started out so hot, and the defense wasn't at the beginning of the season, that they were just outscoring everybody. Now, the Washington Commanders is still putting up points, but the defense has started to play better as the seasons came along. And now those close games, such as the Washington game, and I get it, they were saved by the Hail Mary, but that was a low-scoring game. That was a close, low-scoring game. So what they doing now is the games that the offense ain't scoring 30 points a game, since the season has gone and progressed, the defense has gotten better as the season has went. So those games that they might not score 30, since the defense is getting better as the season goes, they're finding ways to win games with the defense stepping it up and making critical plays and winning despite not without running the scoreboard up 30-plus points. Now I get it, they played the Giants yesterday, division game, but the Washington Commanders is only going to get better. And they only going to get better on the defensive side of the ball. And now you look at the offense, really what they went and did in the offseason is on the offensive side of the ball, they had Austin Ekeler. Outside of Terry McLaurin, who was already there, you probably can't even name another damn receiver there. Most people can't. Now, if you're a Washington Commander fan or if you're a diehard football fan that just follow the NFL in general, you probably could. But most people can't even name a receiver in Washington outside of Terry McLaurin. So that's going to be something they look at. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if they go into the trade deadline and look on the market to see where they can find a cornerback. Because if you had to find a weak spot, a glaring weak spot in it on that Washington team, that probably would be the secondary. So I wouldn't be surprised if they would be in the market looking to get a secondary piece, preferably a cornerback. So if you the Dallas Cowboys, you got shit, boy. You got a tough hill to climb here. You're sitting at 3-5. There ain't no promise into your future. You got a bunch of big ass contracts, or 2 big ass contracts, and then you got a decision to make on another one. Your run game non-existent. So if you Dallas, I mean, rebuild is probably a word that you don't want to use in Dallas. Jerry probably ain't gonna say it, but it might be time to start selling some of that shit and start thinking about a rebuild. I mean, that's just me. But a lot of people, they don't want to do that. You know, the thing about a rebuild is, if you're going to do a rebuild, you're going to have to do a rebuild. Do a full rebuild. You can't half-ass a rebuild. Either you're going to do it or you ain't going to do it. You can't half-ass it, because if you half-ass it, that's when it's going to, you got to be committed going all in on a rebuild. Now, it's going to be ugly. You're going to lose games. You're going to look ugly losing games, but that's part of a rebuild. Now, if you go into a rebuild and you just happen to be winning some of these games, now you got to look at what's causing you to win these games and build from that. That's a positive sign. But when you do a rebuild, you can't always look to just lose games. Of course, you want to win the game regardless, you know. So if you're winning games and you're going through a rebuild, you got to look at what's causing you to win games and start building from that point. Because it's something that's causing you to win games. But that ain't what Dallas is doing. Dallas is losing games and still trying to have people believing they're going to do something this year. It's over. This shit is over. It's over. Then you look at a team like the New Orleans Saints. Started the damn season 2-0. And I told y'all on a previous video that Dennis Allen was one of my head coaches that was on the hot seat this season. When he started the season 2-0, scoring 40-plus points a game, had one of the most high-powered offenses in the NFL in the first couple weeks of the season. That opened the season up beating Carolina, which ain't said much. But I think they beat them like 47-13, something like that. Then they go week 2 to Dallas and beat them like 44-19. So to open the season up the first 2 weeks, they come out here looking like one of the most prolific offenses in the NFL. And since then, they ain't won a damn game. They 0-7 since, sitting at 2-7. They ain't eat that shit. They lost to Carolina yesterday in Charlotte. Outgained them in damn near every category and still lost the game. So technically, if you look at the standings, they sitting in last place, even though they got the same record as Carolina. That bumped Carolina. Carolina that was 1-7, won a game. They go from last to third. That moves the New Orleans to last place in that division. Bryce Young, 16 of 26, 171 yards, a TD, and a pick, and he was only sacked once. See, that's the thing about these games you got to watch. You just can't go off what everybody say, because a lot of people going to say shit in a joking way because you the laughing stock. But see, everybody say that Carolina's offensive line is bad. The Carolina's offensive line ain't as bad as it was last year. It ain't the best offensive line in the NFL by a long shot, but it ain't the worst. And it damn sure better than what they had last year. Bryce was only sacked once yesterday. Now, a lot of these sacks that you saw Bryce taking earlier on in the season before Andy Dalton took over, A lot of people don't watch Carolina football, so let me break it down to you. A lot of those sacks that Bryce Young took wasn't all because the offensive line was bad. A lot of those sacks Bryce took because he didn't step up in the pocket when he had a clean pocket to step up in. He didn't step up in the pocket, but instead he tried to elude the rush by running outside the pocket, either to the left or to the right. And he realized he should have stayed, and then he take the sack then, trying to extend the play. But that ain't what a lot of people in the media are gonna tell you. That ain't the clips they're gonna show you. Now, this is the NFL. There's gonna be teams that are gonna sack the other team's quarterback, but just because that happens doesn't mean they have a bad offensive line. There's no offensive line in this NFL that's going to go an entire 17-game season without giving up a sack. Every team is going to get a sack on every team. Some is going to get a lot more than others. But if you look at this game, and New Orleans, I understand they got issues because Chris Olave left the game with a concussion. I think it's like his 4th or 5th concussion. So you might be looking at Chris Olave saying, bro, you might go ahead, sit down. No need to rush back. You might need to think about your NFL future. Because now he's a concussed player who's repeatedly getting concussions. Now, all of them, concussed players, all of them don't be as ugly as the concussion we remember Tua getting, but a concussion is a concussion. I don't give a damn how you get it. You got it. You had one. And I think this is like his 4th or 5th concussion. So now you got to start raising some concerns about that if you're Chris Olave in the New Orleans Saints. The other receiver, Rashid, he out for the season. I think he tore his ACL, if I'm not mistaken. He done for the season. It didn't happen yesterday. It happened, I think, a couple weeks ago. But he out for the season. The New Orleans Saints defense ain't what it used to be. Derek Carr has now lost to 31. He has taken an L to 31 NFL teams now. Bryce, 16, 26, 171 yards, a TD, a pick, a sack. Chuba Hubbard, 15 attempts, 72 yards, and 2 TDs. And this is the thing I can't really understand a team like Carolina, why they not doing this. You have a running back like Chuba Hubbard, who ain't a household name throughout the league. But the best thing about Carolina's team, if you had to pick something about it, would probably be the run game. Because at one point during this season, I don't think it's like that no more, but at one point during this season, Chuba Hubbard was stat-wise, Chuba Hubbard yardage and all. Chuba Hubbard was a top 5 running back in the NFL at one point during this season, stat-wise. He was top 5 rusher in the league. Now, what I don't understand is, why aren't you taking advantage of that? Why aren't you using the run game? Because clearly you got a guy that at one point was a top 5 rusher in this league this season. Why weren't you using the run game to take pressure off of Bryce to set up the pass game? But see, and I think this got a lot to do with just the NFL development of quarterbacks. See, they take these quarterbacks high and they put them out there and they try to get them to pass the ball 40 times a game and justify why you drafted them that high. No, don't do that. There's no reason. Bryce ain't showed you no kind of reason, in no way, shape, form, or fashion has you showed you he's capable of throwing the ball 40 times a game as a reasonable clip. Completion percentage 40 times at a reasonable or good enough clip. Use that run game. Use that big ass, and they started to do it yesterday with getting that tight end involved. They drafted out of Texas, the rookie out of Texas. I forget his name, but that's a big boy. That's a big dude. They started to use him yesterday, throwing him jump balls, getting him involved. That's what they need to do with a quarterback like Bryce Young. Utilize that run game because you spent a shitload of money this offseason on the offensive line. And so far in the run game, it's pretty much starting to come together in the run game. Use the run game. Utilize that offensive line that you spent a lot of money on this offseason. Utilize the tight end. The tight end should be your best friend. Deontay Johnson gone. They traded him over to Baltimore, and it's probably going to be some other. Adam Thielen probably be gone too. I don't see a reason why they're keeping Adam Thielen. Adam Thielen's been out injured, but I don't see a reason why they would keep Adam Thielen. I mean, he's a veteran guy, locker room guy. Ain't heard or had any issues or heard of any issues with Adam Thielen. But I mean, that's what they need to do. That's what they need to do. Now you're sitting at 2-7. That's not going to save your season and put you in the postseason, but it's something to build off of. If you Dave Canales in your first year as a head coach, there, it gives you more of an identity and a direction of where you need to go in this offseason as far as drafting. Because I mean, really, you can pick it with Carolina, so you can pick somewhere and go start drafting. But it gives you more of an idea of how to approach free agency. What do you need to spend your money on? That's just me in my opinion. But if you're the Saints, you fall to 2-7, you go on the road and you lose to Carolina. Rams, Seahawks. The Rams take care of the Seahawks. I don't know what the hell is going on with Geno Smith. Geno Smith, since I think Dave Canales was out there the first year that Geno Smith got there, and Geno Smith looked damn good, and he kind of started to slowly. The year after that, he regressed, and now he's still kind of regressing. You know, the Seahawks sitting at 4-5. Geno Smith, even though he had 363 yards passing, 3 TDs, he was sacked 7 times and he threw 3 picks. Kenneth Walker, 25 attempts, 83 yards. I mean, I don't know. If I had to take a guess, I'm willing to say the Seattle Seahawks are going to spend their first round pick on quarterback. That's my opinion. Not sure who it would be. Maybe Jalen Milroe. I don't know. We got to see how the rest of this season play out. Not only for the Seattle Seahawks, but for these first round quarterback or these guys that's projected to be first round quarterbacks in college right now. We got to see how that's going to play out and see will they stop, rise, stay the same, or will it drop? You know what I mean? But my guess would be the Seattle Seahawks this offseason in the draft is going to go and get a quarterback. Looking at Matthew Stafford, 25 of 44, 298, 2 TDs, and a pick. He wasn't sacked. Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, he did play, but he only had 1 reception, 11 yards. Cooper Kupp was the guy. He had 11 receptions on 14 targets for 104 yards. I mean, Seattle, that's going to be the thing with Seattle, in my opinion. They're going to be looking for they definitely going, in my opinion, going to be looking for a running back. Because if you look at that NFC West, the Cardinals are actually leading that division at 5-4. So the Rams 4-4, 49ers 4-4, and Seattle is last at 4-5. And Arizona got a big win yesterday over Chicago. So that division right now, it ain't as cut and dry as we thought it was. And there was some people that said that the surprise team there would be Arizona. I didn't see it, because I thought that, San Francisco was dealing with a lot of injuries. That was my team that I picked to win that division. So did a lot of other people. But as you know, Christian McCaffrey hadn't played yet this season. Then you had, injuries to Debo. Brandon Ayuk is now injured and he's done for he's out. He's done for. So they've had injury issues over there in San Francisco. So, and I know injury is part of the game. That's part of the game. But I didn't think Arizona was going to be right now first in that division, and we still got a half a season to go. So a lot of things could happen between now and week 17, So, and for some reason, I think the Rams sitting at 4-4, the Rams might be buyers at the trade deadline. I don't think they're gonna look to sell. They sitting at 4-4, and they got a real legitimate chance to overtake Arizona and win that division. For some reason, I don't. It's hard for me to see Arizona hanging on to and winning that division, especially when you have Sean McVay and Matthew Stafford and the Rams, who've already been there and done that. I think they're going to stay on course. They could be looking to be buyers at the trade deadline, bring in some talent. You know what I mean? Once they get those guys back completely healthy, Puka Nacua coming back, Cooper Kupp's back. Well, both those guys played yesterday, but I'm saying once they get back gelling and 100% healthy, if they not 100% healthy already, they could be looking to add something on the defensive side of the ball. I think they've already given permission to Tre'Davious White to request to seek a trade or whatever. So, losing a corner, they could be looking to upgrade there. Somewhere along the defensive side of the ball, they might be looking to upgrade out there in LA. And I think they probably could be the team that could go ahead and overtake that division. Because Seattle right now, they having issues. Now, like I said, the division is still tight. Arizona's leading at 5-4, and then Seattle's last in the division at 4-5, and both LA and San Francisco sitting at 4-4. So, like I said, you still got half a season to go. Anything could happen. It's still a tight race in that division. Anything could happen. A team could jump a team or whatever. But, that's just what I'm thinking, that the Rams in that division is looking like the team that could probably be they could really be aggressive at the deadline, go and get a defensive piece to add to that team. And then once everybody get the chemistry start to gel and everybody get back 100% healthy on the offensive side of the ball, then they will be, taking off. But Detroit, Green Bay, Detroit Lions right now is looking like the best team in the NFL. Definitely the best team in the NFC, though. They looking like the best team in the NFL. They're looking like the team that the NFC is going to have to go through. They look like it's going to have to go through Detroit. Detroit right now is winning games in crazy ways. Beat Green Bay 24-14 divisional game. Jared Goff 18 of 22, 145 yards passing, 1 TD, and he was sacked once. Those are not numbers that's going to wow you. David Montgomery 17 attempts, 73 yards. Jahmyr Gibbs 11 attempts, 65 yards, and a TD. Those are not numbers that's going to wow you. But Detroit can win games wowing you with numbers, and Detroit can win games without wowing you with numbers, as we just seen. And I just got breaking news that the Saints have fired Dennis Allen. I told my daddy that yesterday when we was actually in Charlotte yesterday and we was watching the game. Because we had a family situation, and then while we were there tending to the family situation, we was checking in on the game while we was in Charlotte. And I told my pops then and my uncle, I told them both that if the Saints lose this game to Carolina, look for Dennis Allen to be fired sometime this week, before the middle of the week. And I just seen breaking news, Bleacher Report just reported that Dennis Allen, the head coach of the New Orleans Saints, has been fired. And like I told y'all in a previous video, leading up to the week 1 season opener, Dennis Allen was a head coach that I had on my list of coaches that was on the hot seat, and now he's gone. Didn't even finish the season. I just thought that he was going to finish the season. They get rid of him at the end of the season. I didn't think that they were going to fire him during the season, but it just happened. Bleacher Report just put it out. I just seen the breaking news. Head coach of New Orleans Saints, Dennis Allen, is fired. They're parting ways, moving on. But back to Detroit, man. I think Detroit is the team to go through in the NFC. Detroit is winning games without wowing you with numbers, and Detroit is winning games with wowing you with numbers. So you don't know what Detroit team you're going to get. A team that's going to wow you with numbers, or a team that's just going to not wow you with numbers, but you do know what you're going to get from the Detroit Lions, and that's going to be wins. And they're sitting right now, they're 7-1. So the Detroit Lions right now is pretty is the team to beat in the NFC. So you know that division in itself is tough. That's a tough division in itself. Detroit leading the way at 7-1, Minnesota 6-2, and Green Bay 6-3. And Chicago at 4-4 right now. That's probably the toughest division in football. Well, Angle said probably is the toughest division in football, in my opinion. So you really could arguably see maybe 3 teams come out of that. You know, because the NFC South, there's only going to be 1 team come out of that, and that's Atlanta. You know, NFC East, you're probably going to see 2 come out of that. The Eagles and Commanders, you know. So there's going to be a good team that may not make it. You know what I'm saying? And I think it's only going to be 1 team come out of the NFC West, and that's the division winner. The NFC, like I say, NFC East, Philly and Washington. But, you know, Detroit look like that's going to be all roads lead to Detroit. Well, you got to go through Detroit. So best team in football right now, in my opinion, is the Detroit Lions. They winning it, wowing you, and they winning it without wowing you. You know, they seem to find ways to still get it done. Jaguars at the Eagles yesterday, 29-23 Eagles beat Jacksonville. The highlight of that game was Saquon with the reverse hurdle over defender. You know, well, before he hurdled, it was a nasty spin move, and then he reverse hurdled over the defender. But if you look at Jalen Hurts in that game, you know, 18 of 24, 230 yards, 2 TDs, no picks, and he was sacked 3 times. Saquon Barkley having the best year probably arguably of his career so far. And it just so happened to be in his first year in Philly, which was a divisional of the New York Giants where he came from. So if you're the New York Giants, you got to be sitting there looking sick as hell right now. Saquon has been able to stay healthy this year. Yesterday he had 27 attempts, 159 yards, and a TD. In the receiving game, he also had, you know, 3 receptions, 40 yards, and a TD. Devontae Smith, 4 receptions, 87 yards, and a TD. A.J. Brown, 2 receptions, 36 yards. I mean, I'm sorry, 28-23. I don't know why I said 29-23. 28-23 Philly beating Jacksonville. If you Jacksonville, you probably going to be soon doing the same thing the Saints just did, firing Doug Peterson. The Saints, like I said, the Saints moved off of David Allen. They just did that a few moments ago. If you the Jacksonville Jaguars, you probably going to be looking to follow suit, moving off of Doug Peterson. Now, I didn't think Doug Peterson was on the hot seat. It was borderline, but I didn't put Doug Peterson on the hot seat because I thought Doug Peterson and the Jaguars were going to be better than what they were, better than what they are so far this season. You look at Trevor Lawrence, they just paid this man in the offseason. I think he got $275 million. That was his contract. And yesterday he went 16 of 31, 169 yards and 2 picks. And he was sacked 3 times. And he did not have a passing touchdown. ETN, 3 attempts, 24 yards. Tank Bigsby, 8 attempts, 22 yards. Trevor Lawrence, 5 attempts, 8 yards. And he did have 2 rushing TDs. But that's not going to be it. That ain't going to get it done in Jacksonville. Jacksonville, what you need to do is you need to bring in a coach on the younger side of things. You know what I mean? That can kind of draw up some stuff for this team, because if you the Jaguars, you have some solid pieces in the right places. You just can't get it to work. You know, your Christian Kirk, he's done. Collarbone, you had him on the trading block any damn way. So, you know, it was a good chance he was going to be traded anyway. But now he's not because of the collarbone. You brought in Gabe Davis from Buffalo. I ain't really heard his name a lot. You had an injured Evan Ingram, but now he's back, and you're not really hearing as much from him as you should. The talk right now of the offense is the rookie that you drafted out of LSU in the first round is Brian Thomas. So I think what you need to do is you just need to make him and I think that's what they're gonna do. That's why they was moving off of Christian Kirk. They're gonna make him the number one, and then just go and add another receiver, and then they're gonna have a young receiving core to go with Trevor Lawrence. ETN, I don't know if they're gonna move him or not. They say he's still running back one down in Jacksonville, but Tank Bigsby, when the opportunities been given to him, he's made the most of them. So I'm not sure if that's an option they want to look at moving off of ETN, because there's a team or two out there that could use a running back. But if you Jacksonville, you might want to pay attention to what New Orleans just did and then follow suit with that. And go ahead and get a jump start on your head coach, searching for the next head coach. Bears at Cardinals, like I said a few moments ago, the Cardinals 29-9 over the Chicago Bears. Caleb Williams, 22 of 41, 217 yards, no TDs, no picks, and he was sacked 6 times. It's kind of like it's an up and down type thing right now for the rookie Caleb Williams. One week he looks outstanding, and next week he looks kind of below average. And I think they have the weapons for him to look better than what he's looking. I think it's just the fact that he's a rookie, and rookies are going to go through this. So it don't matter what you provide a rookie with, they still going to go through. Every rookie is not going to come out and have a CJ Stroud type of season what he had last year. You're looking at the Bears, like I said, they sitting at 4-4 in that tough NFC North division. Caleb Williams, 22 of 41, 217 yards. Like I said, no picks, no touchdowns. He was sacked 6 times. DeAndre Swift, 16 rush attempts, 51 yards. Rome Odunze, 5 receptions on 7 targets for 104 yards. So Rome Odunze pretty much had half of Caleb Williams' passing yards. Keenan Allen had 10 targets, but he only had 4 receptions for 36 yards on those 10 targets. DJ Moore had 9 targets, and he only had 4 receptions for 33 yards. Tough sled for Chicago, especially after they lost that game, that last game, the way they lost it on the Hail Mary. Like I said last week, if you look at the Chicago Bears season, if it comes down to them missing the playoffs by one game, the one game that they're going to go back and look at and say that they should have won was in Washington. When I forget his name, the cornerback, and he was benched, by the way. Like I said, he probably would be. And if I was the head coach, I would bench him. Not because it was an unfortunate play in which he tipped the ball on the Hail Mary pass. Instead of batting it down, he tipped it up and it ultimately got caught in the end zone. But the fact that he was out there taunting the crowd and clowning around and half-assing before the play really showed me a lot about this guy. Like I said, if I was the head coach, I would bench him. And that's exactly what happened. He got benched. And if you look, and if the Chicago Bears somehow missed the playoffs by one game, that's going to be the one game that you look at and say, damn, we should have won. And that probably would have changed our season around. That would probably be the difference in making the postseason and not making the postseason. But if the Bears continue on this trajectory, that one game don't even matter. But I'm just saying, if it came down to that one game, whether they get in or not, that will be the game that you look at and say, damn, if we did what we were supposed to do, that one game would have been the difference in us making the playoffs and not making the playoffs. But you're looking at the Arizona Cardinals. Like I said, they sitting at the top of the division right now at 5-4. So Kyler Murray, 13 of 20, 154 yards, no TDs, no picks, and he was sacked 3 times. Like I said, these numbers are not wowing you. They put up 29 points anyway, and only allowed the Bears to put up 9, even though Caleb Williams had more yards passing than Kyler Murray. Neither one of those guys threw for a touchdown or threw a pick. But Caleb Williams was sacked 6 times and Kyler Murray was sacked 3 times. James Conner rushed 18 attempts, 107 yards. Trey McBride, 3 receptions, 35 yards. He led the way in receiving with 35 yards on 4 targets, 3 receptions, 35 yards. Marvin Harrison, he had 5 targets, but only had 2 receptions for 34 yards. So, I mean, damn, they put up 29 points, and the leading receiver only had 35 yards. And that was the tight end. But a win is a win at this point. You take them how you can get them, despite how they come, especially if you're the Arizona Cardinals, and that puts you at the top of the division right now. out there in the AFC West, which, like I said, I don't think they're going to sustain that lead. I think that the LA Rams are going to be buyers at the deadline. They're going to bring somebody in, and they're going to get only going to get healthy, or should only get healthy from this point moving forward. And I think with Matthew Stafford, Sean McVay, and whatever they go out and get at the trade deadline, I think that's going to push this team to the top of this division in the second half of the season. You know, that's just me. I think the Arizona Cardinals is just I ain't gonna say they should be surprised to be in this point, because every team should be thinking that they got the capabilities of being a winning organization and in winning games. But for most people, that's the surprise team, and I think it's caught them by surprise. And you know, I just think the more experienced team in the Rams is going to be the team that's going to kind of take flight in the second half of this season in that division. Patriots at Titans, this game went to overtime. 2017, Tennessee came out on top. Drake made 29 of 41, 206 yards, 1 TD, 3 picks, and 4 sacks. Like I said, if you throwing your rookie quarterback out there with 41 pass attempts and he's only giving you 200 yards, you know, I'm not a big fan of that. You know, for rookie QBs, I'm not a big fan of 41 pass attempts. You know, that's a lot of pass attempts for a veteran QB, so it's damn sure a lot for a rookie QB. And I get it, you at the next level now, you got to do what's asked of you to do. But I'm more of the mindset that if you got a rookie quarterback out there, 41 pass attempts is not what you want, especially when you only get 206 yards. He completed 29 of them. You think completing 29 passes is only going to – you don't think that's going to get you barely 200 yards, because that's what it got him, 206 yards. You thinking if you throwing the ball 41 times, you complete 29 of them, you thinking that you over 350 yards passing. You know, that's what you would think, but that wasn't the case. Like I said, he had a TD and 2 picks, and he got sacked 4 times. He also had 8 rushes for 95 yards. Damn. Hunter Henry, 7 receptions, 56 yards. And that was the leading receiver. Hunter Henry is tight end on 8 targets, 7 receptions, 56 yards. Stevenson, I mean, they're not wowing you with these numbers in the passing game, and they couldn't have if he only got 206 passing yards. So, you know, that's just me. You know, and I get it. The Patriots aren't projected to go anyway, but I'm just more of the mindset, dropping back 41 times with your rookie quarterback, and you only getting 200, completing 29 of them, and you only got 206 yards passing from it. There was a lot of short yardage passing going on. So I'm not high on that. Tennessee now sitting on their second win. So is Carolina. So is New England. So there are no more one win teams in the NFL, I don't believe. The Saints got 2 wins. Yeah, I don't think there are no more 1 win teams. Everybody is 2 wins or better, which ain't saying a whole damn lot, because that's still bad, 2-7. But if you Tennessee, Mason Rudolph, 20 of 33, 240 yards. He had 2 TDs a pick, and he was also sacked. Tony Pollard, 28 rush attempts, 128 yards. Calvin Ridley, 5 receptions on 8 targets for 73 yards. And that was the lead receiver. So it's 2 teams that ain't going anywhere. You know, I mean, Mason Rudolph versus Drake May. There was nothing about that game that wowed you. It went to overtime, 2017. Tennessee at home get the victory. Raiders, who they've already started firing some of their staff. They go to Cincinnati and get 41 dropped on them. Joe Burrow, 5 TD passes. He had a pick, and he was only sacked once. Brown had 120 yards on the ground on 27 attempts. Mike Gesicki led the way with 5 receptions for 100 yards, 2 TDs. Jamar Chase, 7 targets, 43 yards. And, you know, like I said, the Raiders, they already started letting people on their staff go. Gardner Minshew, 10 of 17, 124 yards, and he was sacked once. Desmond Ridder got in, 11 of 16, 74 yards and a TD, and he was sacked 4 times. Madison, 9 rush attempts, 36 yards. Zamir Wright had 6 attempts for 10 yards and a touchdown. They just don't have a run game either. Amir Abdullah, 4 attempts, 12 yards. I mean, that ain't gonna get you nowhere. Jacoby Myers had 11 targets, 8 receptions, 105 yards. Brock Bowers, 5 receptions, 45 yards, and a TD. So yeah, same thing with the Raiders. You know, they about to rebuild this thing. Starting with a quarterback. So I think they're going to be sellers. So if there's anything, well, they already done sold Davante Adams. They sold him to the Jets, or sold. They've already been sellers, trading away Davante Adams to the Jets. And I think they need to find some other players of value and move at the deadline if they have any, because they also need to be sellers. They need to position themselves as best as they could to they need another receiver, of course, to fill in for what they lost Davante Adams. Of course, they need a a quarterback. They're going to figure out a run game. They're going to get the offensive line right. They're going to figure out a run game to help the young quarterback when he get there, regardless of who it is, Shedeur Sanders or Carson Beck or Quinn Ewers or Jalen, whoever the quarterback is that they're going to draft. They're going to have to get an offensive line that can provide a run game, because you got 2 tight ends there. Brock Bowers being a damn good one. And you're going to have to get you a wide receiver. You had a promising, start to your defense up front with Max Crosby and Tyree Wilson and Christian Wilkerson. So, I mean, he's been injured. So that not really looking as promising as you thought. And they've already shut down the rumors of trading Max Crosby. So, and the firing spree has begun out there in Vegas. So that's what the Raiders need to be doing. They need to be concentrating on selling, and getting what they can get so they can get this thing, rebuild this thing up and get it going in the direction they need to be going. Now Tom Brady's a minority owner out there, so that's definitely where they need to go. That's the route they need to go. Dolphins, Bills. The Dolphins, 2-6. Despite Tua coming back, it don't matter. He was 25 of 28, 231 yards, 2 TDs, and he was sacked once. Tyreek Hill, 4 receptions on 5 targets for 80 yards. Man, the Miami Dolphins was first in damn near all offensive categories last year, but that damn sure ain't the case this year. I think this season is pretty much over for the Miami Dolphins. Sitting at 2-6. I think what they need to do is they just need to go back to the drawing boards and prepare themselves for next season. They're not a bad team. It's just that they had a period of time where they didn't have their quarterback. Concussion issues. I don't know how much longer they're gonna have Tua. So that's something to keep in the back of their mind and think about. Moving forward in free agency, do we need to go and look for a stable quarterback, because we don't know what Tua's situation is and what it's going to be moving forward with the concussion issues he's having. Because you can't, and they just paid Tua, but you can't bank on Tua being your franchise guy when he gets a concussion and misses a month, or more due to the concussion, and you bring in a quarterback and your offensive numbers just plummet. You played a strong game yesterday against Buffalo, but it took a game-winning field goal for Buffalo to win that game. But you're 0-2. You got swept by Buffalo this season. You're sitting 3rd in the division. And you're only 1 game better than the damn Patriots. You're sitting at 2-6. Where actually you and the Patriots got the same 2. Both of y'all are 2-win teams. The Patriots just have 1 more loss than you do. So you got to just basically get back to the drawing boards and forget this season ever happened and get back to work this offseason. Because the injuries is really what especially at a key position like the quarterback position, that's what really hurt the Miami Dolphins. You know what I mean? So they got to really look into a situation and see is he really going to be there, and that'll determine which direction they need to go in. But if you Buffalo, Josh Allen and the crew, he was 25 of 39, 235 yards, 3 TDs a pick, and he got sacked once. James Cook, 10 rush attempts, 44 yards. You look at Shakur, 6 receptions, 50 yards. Don Kincaid, he had 10 targets. He had the most targets on the team, but he only had 4 receptions for 32 yards. James Cook, 5 receptions, 25 yards. Keon Coleman, 1 reception for 21 yards, and he only had 2 targets. Buffalo, surprisingly, well, not surprisingly, but I think Buffalo right now, 7-2. I think they just it's not really one guy that Josh Allen got to kind of focus in on to get the ball to. I think that was the issue when they had Stephon Diggs there. They had to focus so much on feeding Stephon Diggs 10 targets a game, 9 targets a game, that you pretty much forgot about the other guys that were out there. But now that Stephon Diggs is not there, I think they just kind of distributing the ball wherever the defense. Well, they just taking whatever the defense give them and distributing the ball where it need to go. And they kind of playing, solid football right now. Despite Buffalo losing a lot in the offseason on the defensive side of the ball, and like I said, they lost Stephon Diggs. They still rolling. And Mike McDermott, in my opinion, like I said, he was one of the coaches that was on the hot seat. But right now they're sitting at 7-2. But the regular season is not what's going to determine what Sean McDermott hot seat is. You know what I mean? I think it's going to be the postseason play, because getting through the regular season is not an issue for teams like Buffalo. I think they just got to get over the hump and get it done in the postseason. So regular season, going right now sitting at 7-2 in the regular season, it's not a big deal. What's going to be the bigger deal is what they do in the playoffs. And that's going to determine which direction they go with the head coach, whether does Sean McDermott stay or is he gone. But they took the season series against the Miami Dolphins, 30-27 win over the Dolphins. Chargers, Browns, it was the Chargers, 27-10 over Cleveland. Justin Herbert, 18 of 27, 282 yards, 2 TDs, no picks, and he got sacked 6 times. J.K. Dobbins, 14 attempts, 85 yards, 2 TDs. Ladd McConkey, 5 receptions, 64 yards. Quentin Johnson actually led the way with 4 receptions, 118 yards and a TD. Josh Palmer, 2 receptions, 63 yards and a TD. And if you Cleveland, Jameis Winston, 26 of 46, 235 yards, 1 TD, 3 picks, 6 sacks. Some told me to take the Chargers defense in fantasy. I didn't, but I should have. But Nick Chubb, 15 attempts, 39 yards. Jameis Winston, 5 rush attempts, 27 yards. Tillman, he led the way with 11. Well, him and Jerry Jeudy was tied for 11 targets. He had 6 receptions, 75 yards. Jerry Jeudy had 7 receptions, 73 yards. Tillman also had a touchdown reception. Cleveland, your season's pretty much done. It was a disappointing season. Deshaun Watson, of course, he's out, Achilles, done for the season. And even before his Achilles, Deshaun Watson wasn't playing like the Deshaun Watson they wanted to play like. So I'm not even gonna blame them just losing Deshaun Watson to the Achilles, because they was having issues prior to Deshaun Watson tearing his Achilles. So that ain't even no excuse. They could be selling at the deadline. Zadarius Smith, we don't know. I heard they've been getting calls about Myles Garrett, which I highly doubt they moved Myles Garrett. Zadarius Smith, maybe. But if you're looking at a team like the Detroit Lions, they probably could put in a call for Darius Smith. Since they have Aiden Hutchinson down and out, pretty much for the rest of it. Well, he's out for the season. You know what I mean? So that may be a call the Detroit Lions make. That would be a big pickup. Or maybe you look at a team like the Saints, who just fired their coach, Chase Young. For the remainder of the season, could fill in, or you may call Carolina about Clowney. Any one of those guys, pretty much Detroit, if you're picking the phone up and you need a DN, any one of those teams, Carolina for Clowney, New Orleans for Chase Young, and Cleveland for Smith, Lazarus Smith. So, any one of them teams will work for what it is. Cleveland need to replace on the edge, on the that D line on the edge. Broncos, Ravens. It was Ravens 41-10 over the Broncos. Bo Nix, 19 of 33, 223 yards. He threw a pick and he was sacked 4 times. Cortland Sutton, 7 receptions on 10 targets for 122 yards. And that pretty much was the only bright spot that Denver had. There really was nothing else bright about this. Lamar Jackson, 16 of 19, 280 yards, 3 TDs and a sack. Derrick Henry, 23 rush attempts, 106 yards and 2 TDs. Zay Flowers, 5 receptions, 127 yards, 2 TDs. Isaiah Likely only had 1 target, and he didn't have a reception. So, of course, he didn't have no yards, no nothing after that. But like I said, the Baltimore Ravens, that's another team that's not really – you don't look at the regular season for them. You pretty much need to be looking at what they do in the playoffs, because winning regular season games ain't their goal, and it's not a big issue if they win regular season games. The bigger issue is what they do in the playoffs, because that's the bigger goal for a team like the Baltimore Ravens is getting to the Super Bowl, especially when you got Lamar Jackson as your quarterback. So that's the bigger thing to keep your eye on and watch with a team like Baltimore, similar to Buffalo. Regular season wins is not really what they look at, because they know they're going to win some regular season games. But to me, their season doesn't officially start until the postseason. They have to perform in the postseason. They have to get over the hump in the postseason. And that's ultimately what it's going to come down to. But moving on, the Commanders at the Giants, like I said, the Commanders took care of the Giants 27-22. You look at Jaden Daniels, 15 of 22, 209 yards, 2 TDs. He's had much better numbers than this, but most importantly, they came out with a victory 27-22. Let's see, Austin Eckler had 11 rushes for 42 yards. Brown, Zacchaeus. There's not really numbers that wow you. But the biggest thing for the Washington Commanders is they 7-2. I didn't see Washington being 7-2 at this point in the season. I knew that Washington would be an improved team. They could have. That was one of my sleeper teams in that division, but I didn't think that they were going to be 7-2. I didn't think they were going to be leading the way in that division at 7-2. I ain't going to sit here and lie to y'all. I didn't, But like I said, defensively, they're only going to get better. Because they started the season defensively, they weren't good defensively to start the season. But as the season has progressed, they've gotten better defensively. So now they're starting to win games. When the offense is having a down game, the defense is now playing well enough to still win, to get a win now. Early on in the season, the offense was lights out, putting up hella points, and the defense was giving them up. It's just the offense was putting up more than the defense was giving up. So they were able to win games, outscoring teams. But now, since they now have learned or getting better defensively to the point where if they don't put up a ton of points offensively, they can still win games because the defense is getting better as the season goes. And like I said, they could be a team at the trade deadline that could be a buyer. And I read reports that there were players that were interested in now going to Washington. So it's crazy how just a year can change things for a franchise. Especially like Washington, where teams didn't give 2 fucks about being in DC with the Commanders, other than get a check and get paid. But now you got players who they didn't say which players, but according to reports, there are players that are now willing to go to Washington if their name is brought up in trade rumors. That would be a destination they wouldn't mind going to. Tonight, Monday Night Football, you got the Bucks at the Chiefs. I'm gonna go Kansas City in this one. Tampa down 2 receivers. Chris Godwin out for the season. Then you got Mike Evans still out dealing with a hamstring injury. I'm gonna take Kansas City. Kansas City at home. They're gonna go 8-0. Not because I think Kansas City is playing lights out. I think Kansas City is gonna do just enough to win the game. because Kansas City be having their own issues, and I think that Kansas City has been helped out by the refs in previous games this season. There's about 3 games where they should have lost that they won. So you're looking at the game against the Saints, which there were phantom calls. You're looking at the game against Atlanta, in which calls weren't made, and then you look at there was one more game against Cincinnati that they benefited from a call. So they get them, and then the calls that the other teams it's just something about Kansas City is I don't expect Tampa to go in with the top 2 receivers down. One was like I said, Chris Godwin, he out for the season. So I don't expect them to go into Kansas City and win. I think they're still trying to figure out their running back situation down in Tampa. So I don't see Tampa going in. I think Baker Mayfield will still have a solid game because I didn't think Baker was going to still be playing this season the way he played last season under Dave Canales. But he is, and I think he's still going to have a solid enough game where it's not going to be a blowout, but it's not going to be a good enough game minus the weapons he's down 2 receivers in the run game, and still trying to figure out who's going to be who in the backfield. He's going to still have a solid game, but it's not going to be enough for them to win the game. So I'm going to take Kansas City tonight in Kansas City to beat Tampa. And, that division, the NFC South division, is pretty much looking like, I ain't going to say pretty much, it's just pretty much handed to Atlanta. It's not looking like the division is pretty much gift wrapped it over to Atlanta because Tampa's down 2 receivers. Not sure when Mike Evans coming back, but Chris Godwin won't be back. Then you're not worried about Carolina or New Orleans, as New Orleans has now dropped 7 in a row after starting 2-0. And you're not really worried about Carolina, even though you're not worried about Carolina at all. Carolina still, they just playing the season to figure. It's pretty much in-season auditions to figure out who stays, who goes, and who is who soon about to be traded at the deadline. So, the division is Atlanta, and I'm not looking for Tampa to go in and win this game unless something major happens in the game. A key injury or something that but not hoping that happens. But I'm just not seeing Tampa going into Kansas City tonight and winning that game. But that's my time, man. I appreciate y'all for tuning in. Like I said, it's scrolling down at the bottom of the screen. If you haven't done so, head over to YouTube, subscribe to the content, Damn You2 Sports Talk. Make sure you hit that notification bell so you get notified when new content releases. You want to head over to IG and follow the sports page. It's Damn_U2_Sports Talk. You can click the link in the bio and subscribe to the YouTube page that way. Or if you want to follow me personally on IG, is Ralph_Sneaks. And over on X is Damn You2 Sports Talk. Make sure y'all follow and subscribe. Until the next episode, man, y'all be safe. Peace.